Hi, and welcome back to SGTV. This is another episode as part of our Job Routes for Electricians mini-series, where we'll be talking to different electricians in the industry about the various routes you can take as an electrician, such as domestic, commercial, agricultural, lecturing, and many more. And today we're going to be talking about being a commercial installer. And today's guest is Chris Beeney from Juice Electrical. So, Chris, thank you for joining us. It's great to have you on the show.
Yeah, great to be here. Thanks for the invite.
I was just, as I said before, I was just admiring your backdrop there. I think that's pretty cool.
Well, got to do your bit.
Yeah, but I mean, it's something we spoke about in other episodes, is branding and how important it is, and it seems like you've got some good branding there. So,
well, we like to. It helps. It helps with identification, even if people can't read it from a distance. They recognise a logo, same as you see. Some of the bigger names, household names, you just recognise the logo without reading it. So
I like the name as well. It kind of makes me thirsty at the same time.
Yeah.
So as I said, we're doing this mini-series to make electricians, new electricians, experienced electricians, just make them aware of the various routes you can take, because not all electricians will prefer one route or the other. They might start out on domestic and feel it's not for them, or start out in another sector and feel it's not the right path. Or they might be later on in their career and thinking they want to go into something different, such as wholesaling or lecturing or something like that. But we're going to be talking about commercial installs. So before we sort of get into the nitty gritty and the ins and outs of it, can you just tell us sort of how you started out, the training you started out with, and to how you got to running Juice Electrical?
Well, basically, it probably stems from school days, really. Well, even from my father. My father used to work for Seaboard back in the day, when all the main distributors were part of the system. He used to work for Seaboard, and there was obviously stories and tools and stuff. So I just sort of started playing with wires and that from a young age. Then I got involved with the lighting side of things for school productions. And then leaving school, I got an apprenticeship with British Rail, as it was then. So I joined British Rail on the signallings and telecommunications department. I did a 3-year apprenticeship, got an ONC in electronic engineering, and stayed with them for 5, 6, maybe 7 years before it all got privatised. And then it obviously all got chopped up and different things, and we were bought out a couple of times, and I had an opportunity then to work more locally. So I took in a job with an alarm company, worked with them for about 18 months. It was okay, but it really wasn't my bag. So just looked at different avenues, and one thing that I thought, falling out of love with this a bit. So went off for a while and just did other jobs.
Outside of the electrical industry.
That's completely out. Well, I got more involved with tool hire and tool supplies and fixings and bits and pieces, and obviously worked with alongside builders, construction companies. So I got an understanding of obviously domestic properties and buildings and how they were constructed. Obviously, being in the railway prior to that, it's sort of a closed shop. Nobody's got a railway in their back garden and stuff. So some of the skills are transferable, but a lot of them are not. So so then I got into power tools and fixings and that side of things. And then from there, that company ceased trading, and it was time to start up. So originally we got involved with the installation of electric heating. There's a few where I'm based. There's a few villages which aren't on mains gas. It's all electric, and they're all on the night storage heaters.
I've been there. Storage heaters, the joys of storage heaters.
Oh, yeah, the joy of storage. Certainly keep you fit taking them out every day. That's for sure. So we set up a company and started doing heating. Had some training from a manufacturer. Went to the factory and spoke to a few of the designers and the owner of the factory and everything else, and started installing all electric heaters. And then from that point, got asked, can you do a light fitting? Can you do a fuse board? Can you do this? Can you do that? Which was fine to start with, because I was actually subbing out the electrical side, because I wasn't registered. So I was actually getting someone else to do all the electrical work for me. But we were getting more and more and more. So it was a case of taking it in-house. So registered with the CPS, went through the relevant tests and exams and questions and what have you, and started off as a domestic installer, and have now finished up as an approved contractor. So we're doing approved contract work now.
Yeah, that's quite a varied route then, because a lot of people I speak to, they come out of college or an apprenticeship or whichever training method they start out with, and then they'll go straight into domestic or maybe straight into industrial. But you've gone from almost rail to alarms to domestic. Now you're doing a lot of commercial. So that's quite a nice way of finding your feet in something you enjoy.
It is, and I've been able to pick up a lot of information and a lot of skills and talk to a lot of people. So you could almost treat it as an apprenticeship to a degree, to get a wide spectrum of further information about different systems, different practices, and especially like the construction of houses. And you see things of cutting of joists and such like, where people don't necessarily understand the purpose of the joist. So you get to do that. And I actually forgot to mention, I actually did a bit of electrical work for a ventilation company. So I got to see in some of the smaller supermarkets, so all the tray, all the ductwork, and all the services there. So that was a good stepping stone as well.
Yeah. So how did you make the step from, so you've done, your rail fire, rail alarm, ventilation. Now you're sort of doing a lot more commercial. So was that a big transition getting into that?
It was a kind of sidestep to a degree. We had an opportunity through a bit of an incident. We had an opportunity to quote for some work. And we were up against 2 or 3 others, which was all above board and all as it should be. And actually, we were gifted the contract, for want of a better word. So we took it on, and it's for a 100-year-old cinema.
Okay.
So basically, we look after the local cinema now and do all of their electrical work. We didn't do the original installations because it's actually only been reopened for I think this is their 21st year. So they reopened. Yes, they reopened at the millennium. So the original works were obviously installed by others, but they needed somebody to do the maintenance and the ICRs and just moving things forward, because they still had an old film projector. So they went all digital and stuff. So that was interesting, and that gave me. I said, oh, actually, this is really, I'm enjoying this. This is something to be able to show off and use as a marketing piece, and something to have a bit of pride and privilege in, and say, every time I drive past it, I've worked there.
Yeah.
So
is it a different approach to those kind of buildings? Because imagine if you're in commercial, you're going to be working on sort of those kind of buildings, like listed buildings, Victorian properties that are now used for commercial reasons. Whereas new supermarkets, for example, they're almost constructed in the same way as a barn, aren't they? It's like
there's almost a standard blueprint for it, and it's just like bang next, and it's But especially with the cinema, we had to be very sympathetic. And there's various things you can and can't do, but the council restraints, and so, and the facade has got to stay the way it is, and because they got lottery money and everything else, there's various dotting of I's, crossing of T's for their part in it. So but it's a very prestigious, very interesting bit, and I thought, actually, do you know what, this takes me back to doing stuff behind the scenes at the railway, working London Victoria Station on the roof. Not many people get to go up there and see things like, and that sounds, it's not everybody's cup of tea, but seeing behind the scenes, seeing stuff from yesteryear, and think, oh, actually, do you know what? The people that did this, there's pride, there's engineering in it. There's some proper, good, high quality installations, and it doesn't matter whether it's welding, woodwork, anything like that. You get to see behind the scenes, and I kind of thrive on that. So I thought, actually, you know, the cinema job was a nice one, and just really enjoy it. So we sort of push more and more for that sort of work now.
I do find it fascinating. We had Neil Bridgman on before, talking about rail, and I find it really interesting. Like, you've got old abandoned of subway stations and things that we use for bunkers, and I'd love to go explore it. It might not be everyone's interest, but I'd love to go, take a peek in there. And
I'd enjoy that too, seeing some old underground stations and the like, and disused lines and what have you. It was tragic down here because, I'm based in Howsham. We lost the railway years ago, part of Beeching's cuts. And then when they put the new re-signalling in, they actually destroyed and knocked down the old signal boxes. And you're just thinking, you'll never be able to replace that stuff again. It's lost now. It's lost.
Yeah, it's a shame because a lot of commercial buildings, like we've said, that built, Victorian buildings, absolutely amazing pieces of architecture and construction. I'm
one of these people that you'll bump into in the high street, because I won't be looking where I'll be going. I'll actually be looking up and going, oh, blimey, look at that. And look above the shop face and see what's actually going on with the building.
But does it affect the sort of your quoting and time spent? So if you're working on a character commercial building, are you having to allocate extra time, extra
you have
money?
To be quite thorough with things, as you would do anyway, but more so, and you have to sort of factor in delays in getting answers to things. It's not as speedy as perhaps it could be. You need to get the nod to go ahead and do something, or you might actually, what would be satisfactory information for one client, you'd have to, and they go, yeah, that's fine, crack on, you know what you're doing, we'll leave you to it. Inevitably, with the more sensitive stuff, they come back to you, and it opens up more questions. But it's about transparency, clarity, and dealing with, most of the time you can go back to the manufacturer and get the information and put a proposal together along with manufacturer documents, which help you explain why you're using what you're using, and so on and so forth. But there's sometimes where you just can't. Shall we say, politics dictate what you do. So you have to, at the end of the day, you are working for a client, and they've got their wishes. So it's a bit of a balance at times.
What is your typical kind of client then? Not like personality, but I mean, are they supermarkets? What are they? No,
not really. We've got a few retail properties that we look after. We've done a lighting scheme for an ironmonger's. They've been trading for 100+ years. And they hadn't had anything done in their property probably since the 60s. So that was a big sort of revamp on that new lighting scheme for them, new ceilings and stuff. So there was other trades involved there. It's quite diverse. We've done stuff for the Samaritans as well. So we've done a bit of work for Samaritans. I've got office blocks. I've done stuff on a farm for a beekeeping school, and sort of agricultural teaching. They've got classrooms, and then industrial units. They turned into classrooms and workshops. So just a big void, so up go all the walls, and they create these little areas and pods and one thing another. So you've got
So it's quite varied, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Like when we've spoken to specific agricultural electricians, specific industrial electricians, and it sounds like commercial almost touches on a lot of those bases, doesn't it?
It does. It goes up to industrial and obviously drops back to domestic and stuff. So it is kind of pitched in the middle. You get sort of little industrial sites on farms, agricultural, not necessarily doing agricultural work, but we've done work for like a welding company, a shed company, and they're based on a farm. So they've got their little manufacturing units that they do stuff in. So there's 3 phase in there. We're in the process of talking with UK Power Networks and the local scouts. The local scouts site, their original hut burnt down or many years ago, and all they've got is a shipping container on site. But they've been saving and saving and saving, and they want to get some electric on site. So we're starting from scratch on that one. Just getting the power to the actual premises. Got a car parking lighting scheme on the go, and CCTV. So that's for a brand new car park. So yeah, old, new, here, there, and everywhere, basically. Yeah, and everything in between. Yeah.
So what is it you'd say that separates the margins of a commercial install? Would it be the type of work you're doing or the type of building? So what I'm trying to sort of ask, like, what's the difference in wiring, the difference in scale, that kind of thing?
Well, it's from domestic, it's a lot more project orientated. So you have to obviously consider all your different wiring methods, whether you're going to be using tray, whether you're going to be using steel wired armoured, low smoke, etc. So I know you use steel wired armoured, for shed supplies and the like in domestic, but then you've got to look at actually whether you're doing distribution of electric around the site, so on and so forth. So it gets a bit you have to sort of start with the foundations and a lot more sort of agricultural, big SWAs and stuff, and then you break it down to the smaller stuff, and then obviously start working from the CUs to actually, is it going to be an office? Is it going to be a kitchen? Is it going to be a restroom? Is it going to be a teaching room? Or is it just going to be a store or a workshop? So yeah, it's time consuming, but obviously you price it to suit, because it's a project. You're not going to be in and out in a day, in and out in a week, and you might actually have to have 2 or 3 on the go, maybe more, because they're not going to be as fast moving. So you don't want to be sitting around going, well, okay, well, I want to be along, tomorrow. I've got 3 days sitting around. No, you can be on another one sorting that out, or quoting, or
while shop fitters are in and that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you've got to obviously stand down and let others get on if walls aren't ready. It's you are reliant on other trades to a degree. You all pull together.
Yeah. Is the power distribution side of things different for commercial? Because let's say people watching this are mainly domestic, which I'd imagine they are, mainly domestic installers. So they're talking, 1 consumer unit, and they're doing the ring and radial and lights and all that kind of thing. So how's the basics for a commercial setup? Or there's no such thing? Is it so varied?
Well, you start from the incoming supply, basically, and then just web out. So you need to work out what characteristics you've got coming in, what UK Power Networks or whatever your local DNO has facilitated for you, basically. So whether you need single phase, 3-phase, and then whether you actually need the 3-phase to run 3-phase motors, or whether you're going to use the 3-phase as 3 single phases and distribute them to different places. And then you have to sort of start from the beginning and start from the end and work out how you're going to marry the two together. So what does the customer want? Are they going to be running 3-phase machinery, or do they just want multiple classrooms, or do they want, is it a commercial kitchen? Is there going to be dishwashers, fridge freezers, big ovens, so on and so forth? So you kind of look at what they want, what's available, and then you have to obviously do the bit in the middle.
Yeah. Would you say it's more dangerous? I mean, if you're on a domestic property, you're going to practice safe isolation. Well, we hope people are practicing safe isolation. So if you're on a commercial job, is it a lot different? Is there more risk?
Electricity is dangerous, full stop. That's all. There's no, you can't be blasé about it. It is a life and death situation, and you have to be really thoughtful and careful, and one thing another. Now, in a domestic property, you've got pets, children, adults that are unaware of what you're doing, so you really have to be on your guard there. But you are actually in one environment, and if you're fortunate enough to work in the void property, you can lock yourself into that environment and have control. So that's really good. On a commercial, you may have many other trades there. You may have different points of isolation. You may have different points. So you've really got to be on your toes. People coming in, coming out. You haven't got the control on the work site to a degree. So you really have to be spot on with what you're doing.
Yeah.
Locking stuff off, even if fuse boards, consumer units, distribution boards, even if they're locked off, if they're in a cupboard, then lock the door. Make sure you've got the key for it. Put tape across the door, and then as a seal, so on and so forth. Just make it known that that you're there, you're working, and stuff isn't to be switched on. Have the breaker in your pocket.
Yeah.
Just all sorts of things, because it's dangerous. There's no getting away from it.
I've heard people sort of snivel at that kind of thing, going belt and braces when it comes to that, but
you can't. You can't. No, you can't. You've got yourself, and you've got to look after others. And that's all there is to it. You can't have a lax, shoddy, carefree approach to it, and that will take. It could take you an hour before you actually do anything. Before you actually get involved with it, or just putting various procedures into place and going, right, but this is that's safe. Double checking. Is this a safe environment to be working? Yeah. Is this a safe environment to actually have others with you, or should I be putting up barriers? Going back to how long does a project take? The car parking and CCTV one, that's in a public area. Now, the electrical work is not going to take that long, but the civils that have got to take place, and the digging of holes and the trenching and the putting up of the columns, that takes a while. But you're walking away from that at 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night. You won't be back until 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. You've got to make that site safe every single night. You've got to do as much as you can. So that eats into time. And that's, what could be a week's worth of work could actually, I've got to quote this at 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, because of all the safety measures you've got to put in place, because it's in a public environment. So, and it's the same as when I was, those sort of things I picked up when I was on the railway, changing of the flapper boards that used to tell you where your train was going.
Tell you it was delayed.
Yeah, tell you it was delayed or cancelled or non-existent, or a bus service. But all that sort of stuff. You're working in a station where you've got members of staff, and you've also got members of the public. So you have to be absolutely on your guard. And if it means, pairing up, or 3 of you working, and you get one of you's waiting around at the bottom of the ladder, one of you's up the ladder, and the other one's, we need eyes everywhere. You don't have lorries backing around on building sites without banksmen. You need pairs of eyes, ears to and it's all cost. It all comes down to cost at the end of the day. So. Yeah.
Is that something you sort of implement into your quotes?
Yes.
Not only
absolutely.
The physical work, not only the inspection of the site to gauge what needs to be done, but time it takes to isolate, make safe, all that kind of thing.
It's I'm the first to admit I'm not the cheapest, but it's not about cheap. It's about it's providing value and doing it in a safe manner. I've got public liability and professional indemnity insurance. I don't want to use either of them.
Yeah.
I just want them to be bits of paper in the drawer that I've got to tick the boxes. There's no way that I want to be able to have to lean on any of those, because there's something that's been, overseen.
Yeah. Have you been onto commercial jobs, whether you've subbed or been subcontracted onto jobs? Have there been instances where you've seen that there's a lapse in safety and you may think, I'd rather not be on this site?
Not too much. There's everybody's got a different way of working and a preferred way of working. There's obviously certain rules and regulations which you can't, deviate from. But it's some of it's much like the Blue Book. It's interpretation, and and it's been bandied about before by many others in the industry to work from the regulations. The regulations are the minimum that you sort of work from those, not to them. So, and it's the same with health and safety. If you can do more to protect and make safe, then you're going to do it. So there's been things on sites where I might have put out, a bit more red and white hazard tape. Okay, it's not gonna, well, it might save someone's life, I don't know, but it doesn't hurt. It's a bit of red and white tape. It's next to no cost. Then put it out, make people aware. It might be the first and last bit that somebody sees. So just the fact that there's, I don't know, cones or other barriers there, then it doesn't hurt to go over and above. Yeah.
Do you subcontract work out, or are you subcontracted from builders, or?
No, I don't. My brother-in-law works for me, and obviously if we get bigger jobs, then I bring others in. But they work. I don't sub it out and let them deal with it. I don't take my eye off the project. We're still working on the same project or on the same job. So it's not a case of winning a job and then getting others to quote and then they take it on and do it. They actually come and work with us or for us or alongside us, however it seems. So I still deal with the client. I still deal with all the invoicing, the paperwork, the certificates, whatever plant's needed, whatever fixings, accessories that are needed for the job. So yeah, we do bring people in because again, there are some instances where, say, we need extra bodies, and even if it's just eyes and ears, but then we all club together and just move the project forward, which is nice because the client sees that you're putting the effort in, and you're not dragging your heels and thinking, I can price for a few more people, but I don't actually have to have them here, so I'll just pocket the change, invoice them for it, but not actually do it. So yeah, it's say transparency and clarity, really.
Can pay ever be an issue for subcontractors? So that, they're not going to get paid until the person that's contracted them is getting paid, and so on. There's sometimes this domino effect, isn't there?
It does happen in the building industry quite a bit, and it's quite unique to the building industry. I don't know why everybody seems to want to work off credit all the time. I don't know. Well before COVID, the guy on the digger that smashed up the the travel lodges and stuff. Then you can see where it's all coming from and bits and pieces. But thankfully, we haven't been in that predicament. But I will pay whoever's working for me, and then if I haven't been, I will have that fight further up the line. I don't think it's fair. They've done their bit. And providing they've done their bit and they've done what they quoted for and it's satisfactory in its thing, then they'll be paid for it. I don't drag them into anything that's happening in-house here.
And that's good. And I hope that's I hope that entices people into commercial work. If that's a stumbling point that they're thinking of getting into and they're worried about this kind of domino effect, there are good bosses, good people like you that are paying. Which
then that enables me to pick up the phone next week and say, oh, any chance I'm in the mire, I need can you give me a hand next Friday or whatever. Again, transparency, clarity, and integrity. I'm not going to pay anybody unless there's a specific genuine reason not to. And in actual fact, I've probably had more issues with domestic customers being slow or withholding payment or part payment or even paying but not wishing to pay the VAT than I have with my commercial customers. So I don't know, domestic, I don't want to tar everybody with the same brush, but it does come across that there are rogue trades out there, of which there are. There's no getting away from it. But they're also rogue customers, and they don't see that side of the coin. And as I say, I've had more instances with domestic payments than I have with commercial, because the commercial ones, it's domestic see most of the work as a cost to them. Everything's a cost. Whereas the more commercial jobs, although it's a cost, it's an essential for their business. So if they don't have it done, they don't actually have a business run.
Yeah.
So you know, and there's more, or if they don't emergency lighting, for argument's sake, then there's health and safety issues. So there's more. So they tend to be a bit more on the ball.
That's an interesting point, actually. It is down to people's mentality of what's needed and what they want and how they view, paying for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I know we're going sort of off topic here, but it is linked because you've mentioned about like the paying of commercial, and I think we were speaking about electricians in America and Australia and I can't remember which other countries, but basically you can't, if you was to sell your house with an old board in, that's fine. If you was to sell your house with a new board in that's not signed off, that's an issue. But over there, one of the countries, you can't sell your house with an old board because it's a necessity to have it put right and up to scratch. And I wonder about the mentality of homeowners over there, whether they'd be in the same mindset as a commercial property.
Yeah, well, you'd like to think so. I think electricity is very disregarded, and when there's a power cut, that's when people are reminded that they've actually got electricity. Other than that, it's just a given that it'll be there, and unfortunately it will work even if it's wrong.
Yeah.
So unlike with plumbing, if you've got a water leak, you can inevitably find out where the water leak is. You get a visual clue, and same with the gas, it's the smelling. But electricity won't give you those things, and it will work if it's wrong. And there's still hundreds, thousands of properties out there that are well beyond their serviceable life. The electrics are in them well beyond their serviceable life and need something doing to them. But that's where, again, it's seen as it works and it's an unnecessary cost. So, okay, I'll carry on. It works. And it won't be until it actually goes wrong, then it'll be like, oh, okay, better get something done about it. Yeah.
And I don't think there's ever been, in my lifetime, a bigger opportunity for electricians in this country. You only have to look at, if you're like me, I live quite a rural area, you only have to look at how much is changing. There's shopping centres, retail parks, small industrial units, everything just popping up everywhere.
Yeah.
It's all going to require electricians.
Yeah.
New houses being built, houses being renovated left, right and centre. Even the type of power, like solar and car charging, there's so much coming. So many different avenues, and that's one thing we really want to make people aware of with this channel is just how much you can actually do.
Well, it's never going away, and electricity the principles haven't changed at all.
No,
electricity is dangerous, and as I say, the principles have not changed at all. It's just the way that we approach it, we use it, we're blasé about it, but we're going to consume more and more. Everything needs charging. It's not going away. It is absolutely not going away. And we're just going to need more and more and more, whether it be wind farms, solar, hydro, anything that's going to put more power into the network. But the networks are aged. They say there's capacity there, but for how long, I don't know. I mean, Howsham is going to become the biggest inland town in the whole of East Sussex. They are putting up houses like you would not believe. And where it's coming from, I just don't know.
It all has an impact on the infrastructure beneath us, doesn't it?
It does. And then we're going to get it won't be long before we start getting the EastEnders or the Coronation Street effect, when all the kettles go on all at the same time. And you're going to get, I mean, where I am, but you can sort of keep an eye on the local sort of social media groups, and I've got a power cut. Has anything affected anybody else, and so on and so forth. And you can just see where they're switching around problems or overloads. And the network is hanging on, but for how long, I'm not 100% sure. But I don't know. I don't fully know enough about it, but you can see bits of it.
Well, you hear people going on, older properties and things like that, and they're saying the electric coming in and out and everything like that, they can see it's not up to scratch. So I don't know what is going to be done. You know,
I mean, you know, down to we have to run obviously 25 mil tails to a CU. When you look at the size of the incoming cable, and then you look back to where it's coming from, you're thinking, yeah, okay, well, I've done my bit, so we'll let it fall over somewhere else.
Well, I mean, to start from scratch, realistically, you'd have to dig up everything. You'd have to pull down all everything and start again, which it's not going to happen, or at least not overnight. So I don't know. And that might be a talking point for people for our viewers in our comment section. You know, if they've got a better insight, if they know what's coming, that'd be great to hear from people.
This is obviously goes more into the industrial side, which we only sort of touch on really. So yeah, there's obviously industrial electricians that know more about the network and what you know, if there's any future plans, etc. Then
I want to ask you about qualifications. So different parts of the industry, you're going to need certain qualifications. So is it different for a commercial installer? Do you need any additional qualifications?
I personally will go for any qualification that I can get. That if it's to do with the work that I'm doing, then I will go for, you know, whatever I can. So any inspection and testing courses, additional testing courses, EV charging courses, anything where I am dealing with that particular piece of, you know, that particular product, that particular accessory, or if the project calls for it, then okay, can we take this on? Are we knowledgeable enough to take this on? Or do we get somebody in that's got it, and then we deal with the project, and then obviously pick up with it later on and go, actually, we need to know more about this. We need to get the qualifications with regards to this. We don't do much of moving to the future. We haven't done any sort of solar and stuff, so we're not even NEC registered. So we strayed away from that, but it may be something that we need to look at for the future. EV chargers, we've done a few, but we haven't got involved because of the too heavily involved because of the grant scheme. So we've sort of shied away from that. But again, when that becomes more profitable, shall we say, and less paperwork heavy, then we'll probably get more involved with that.
Yeah.
So
I hear so many people talking about this grant scheme for the EV charging and how much of a pain it is, and it's hard not to get political on that kind of thing.
It is, and I know of others that are you know, 2-3 figure sums they're waiting.
Yeah,
and you can't be the government's cash flow. So you know, without sort of picking on any political party or anything like that, it's the same with the way the solar went and the PIV. So yeah, we shy away from that because it's just not something
where it's not.
No,
right
I need to have more backroom staff doing all of the paperwork and the admin for the simplest of jobs. So yeah, we tend to stay away from those, and obviously do a lot of CPD as well. If there's any free CPD or paid for CPD, then you know, we're any manufacturers courses, Zoom meetings, online courses, then we'll look at it and just try and extend our knowledge, so that the right products are going in the right place. Because I think if the manufacturer's giving you support for their product, then why wouldn't you? Why would you go and buy an unbranded product or an inferior product and then not be able to really understand what it does, what its intentions are, whether it's got any pitfalls, and so on and so forth. So yeah, if there's CPD available, we take that on, you know, as well. There's no I don't profess to know everything. I'm not even close. There are plenty others out there that know a lot more.
You're right. It does come down to manufacturers a lot, and you know, without trying to blow our own horn, but obviously at Scolmore we do as much as we can to give people the knowledge they need to know about our products and technical information, make it as readily available as possible.
Yeah. Well, you've got, as a company, you've got a vested interest. Why would you put inferior products onto the market? Why would you not impart the information, the R&D, the stuff that you've designed onto us, the installers, because we're the ones that are putting your gear in.
Exactly,
So,
yeah. And we want, and like any manufacturer, we want people to come back,
Yeah, absolutely, because I don't want to get embroiled in warranties, call outs, replacements, and all that sort of stuff. I want to fit and forget, and the customer will appreciate that more if you sold them a job and installed the right products, then hopefully you won't see them again, which is it's a bit of a false economy, because you shoot yourself in the foot if you've done a good enough job in the first place. That's why if you're doing, even if you're doing a power supply to a summer house, workshop, shed at the bottom of the garden, you've got to do that job and earn your money on that job, put it in properly, because you won't ever get to go and do it again. If you've done it right, it should last. So,
and if you do it right, they're going to get you in for the next project, because whether it's homeowners, domestic, commercial, whatever it is, and the pace that commercial works at and turns around now, you go into your local shop and it's been redone every 2 years. So there's always going to be work there, and if you've done it right, they're going to get you back.
Do
you mind?
Go on.
Sorry, I was just going to say, without throwing numbers at me, but how would you say the pay compares from a commercial point of view to other sectors that you've worked in?
I'm fortunate, lucky, or I've engineered it that the people that I work for actually do appreciate the time, the effort, and the knowledge put in to what they want. So I'm kind of I'm not holding all the cards, but you've got to be sensible with it. Some of them actually give me a little bit of a free hand to say, right, this is what we want doing. We know you can do it. We know that there's costs involved, on one thing or another. Please don't be silly with the numbers. But why would I be? A bit like we was just saying about you, the manufacturer. I'm not going to shoot myself in the foot by overpricing a job, and then you never hear from them again because you were too expensive or you ripped them off. There's no longevity in that at all. So you have to be, as I say, honest, transparent, and it works the other way. If I've underpriced a job, or I've got into the habit now of actually putting contingencies on the quotes, so giving them a price with a contingency and actually saying that will be removed at the end of the job, should it not be required, so that they're better informed of the costs that could potentially crop up with this car parking and CCTV job. I've got to be aware of other services that might be in the ground. So okay, but I've got to put a bit of a contingency in it. I've got to get it surveyed for drains, all stuff that we can't see, what's going on, so on and so on. And it's got nothing to do with the electrical job as such, but it's still a cost. So, and you have to charge for it, and you have to pass that on to the client. We've all got bills to pay, and we've all got we should all be entitled to earn a living wage, and that's ultimately what it is. And if you can do that, then great. I started this from scratch, and I didn't inherit this, and I've had to put it into the position, Juice Electrical Service, into the position that it is today, and I want it to continue. I've got two boys. They might want to take it on, they might not, but it's like you're saying, the branding and everything else there. I'm not just I'm not trying to be rude, as it were, but I'm not just a jobbing Sparky in a plain white van just going around fitting like pigeons, doing this and sort of ducking and diving. This is a business, and it's got to support my family, and I've got to choose those clients that are going to pay me to support my family.
Yeah.
So it's you've got to be human. You've got to, and it's about dialogue as well. It doesn't matter You know, it's like your favourite pub. It doesn't matter what the pub's called. It doesn't really matter where it's located. It's the people, it's the staff, it's the atmosphere, it's the enjoyment of it. And you know, I'm fortunate enough in a position that 90% of the time I can go to work and enjoy it because I'm working for the people. I've got no worries about, am I actually going to get paid? Am I going to be tucked up? Is there going to be something hidden around? Or if I do, you know, miss something, or there's an unforeseen, I can go and say, look, sorry, didn't see this coming, and discuss it. And it's a working relationship, and you get that really well with it. Well, I certainly do with my commercial customers.
Yeah, and that's great. It's great to hear. And I hope it does put people's minds at ease. Whether, you know, if they're thinking about getting into commercial and they've got certain worries such as pay or customers or anything like that, I hope, you know, this video, I hope what you said does help. And that's the whole point of what we're doing.
It's not going to happen overnight, and you will, you know, you've got
it takes time, doesn't it?
It takes time. You've got to think with your head and due diligence and research and so on and so forth. Why am I getting the phone call to go in and second fix a commercial job? What happened to the previous electrician? Did he do something wrong, or was he not paid? Was it the client that did something wrong? You've got to sort of step back and think, oh, actually, what's going on here? Who else has been affected? Why is it in this situation? I never, you know, why am I quoting for the second part of a job? So yeah, you just got to really sound it out, and especially if there's, you know, big numbers involved, you've got to think, actually, is it better that for my integrity and my peace of mind and for a good night's sleep, shall I just actually say no? I don't need to take this on. I've got enough going on. Or if I haven't, actually, it's better to be slightly quieter than it is to be having an animal of a job that is just going wrong, left, right, and centre, causing you know, mental anxieties and stress and money troubles and so on and so forth. Actually, just say no. You can say no, especially if you're, you know, you're in charge, or you're self-unemployed, as I call it. You know, you are your boss. So, but, you know, there's no harm in saying no.
Yeah. I think that brings us to the end of our episode, really. I think we've covered everything I had. And like I said, I hope this has been useful to anyone watching this.
Well, I hope I haven't waffled on too much.
It's been a pleasure to have you on the show, Chris.
I could just sort of talk from the heart. I know there'll be a few that laughing at me, no doubt, and there'll be a few going, what's he said that for? But no, yeah, it's just me. So
I think having people, you know, boots on the ground people on this show is what is brilliant. And I've not seen any negative comments, really. I've not seen anything like that. It's all every Sparky I speak to are telling me the same thing. Whichever part of the sector they're in, they're telling me how everyone just sort of bands together. How every Sparky, even if you've got 2 or 3 other Sparkies on your patch, they're not really competitors. They're helping each other out. They're helping each other out with advice and work. And I think it's brilliant, and it makes working in this industry even better. So,
well, when I first started one of my Twitter account, or our Twitter account, the business Twitter account, I was a bit reluctant to sort of start following other electricians and so on and so forth, because I suppose, having been from the railway background and so on, you all work for the same company. But then you have to think, oh, actually, do I really want them to know what I'm doing? Do I really want to engage with them because we're competitors? And that, but that's as far from the truth as it could be. There's some great guys out there that you can learn stuff from. As I say, you never stop learning. You won't know it all. And it's a great camaraderie. And you can, you know, talk to other electricians, whether it be domestic, commercial, industrial, pick up little gems. There's some great people out there that are on the ground, very well grounded, very knowledgeable, and it's free. It's free. You know, you can just gain that information.
Might cost you a beer.
Well, yeah, it costs you a beer. a bit of banter, and it might be 11 o'clock at night. So, make yourself accessible, be true to yourself, and talk about it. And if again, if you're not sure, ask.
Yeah.
It's the problem is the industry is so diverse, so diverse, that there are just many ways of doing things. So it's great to have that a community spirit, I suppose. Especially if you're doing lone working as well. You can go out your head sometimes on a job and not see the wood through the trees. You're just like, what? Just open up and explore the opportunities available. That's the great thing of social media, is you can do it. You're going to get your issues. There's going to be some, but that's the same in any walk of life. You can go to a restaurant and sit down and not exactly get on with the table that's opposite to you. They might not be your type of people, but you just got to ignore it and not rise to it. So some great guys out there. Great information can be got.
Yeah. Right then, Chris, I want to thank you for coming on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed.
And, anyone else there watching, please make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification button. As I said, we've got loads of videos as part of this Job Routes For Electricians mini-series, talking to domestic, commercial like Chris, industrial, agricultural, rail, loads of different ones. So please check them out. And just also on SGTV, there's plenty of videos, different Sparkies talking about different parts of the industry. So plenty of videos to check out. So anyway, thank you, Chris. And
no problem. Thank you
for watching. We'll see you next time.
Cheers.